Our story takes us back in time to a world where two different species of humans collided, Neanderthals and us. These species coexisted for at least 6,000 years in Europe and have encountered much before that. There is evidence that Neanderthals and Homo sapiens met 47 to 65,000 years ago as well. So a story like this has a high possibility to have occurred and is historically accurate, but it is not created from direct evidence of anything like this happening. Nevertheless, conflicts certainly arose because of resources and of fear. Our story begins with a group of 10 Neanderthals who are out on a hunt. They have been searching for hours and have walked several kilometers. It's summer, so they have about 5 hours till sunset. They are nearing enemy territory, but they do not know it yet. They notice that the animal population has significantly diminished, something which makes the hunt even harder today. Suddenly, a foreign language echoes in the distance, sending adrenaline pulsing through their veins. With a glimpse, they spot a rival tribe of 100, dancing around a campfire on sacred Neanderthal grounds, an ancient cave reserved for changing prey locations. A related Neanderthal group was believed to inhabit it at this time, and the differences in appearances are unmistakable. Panic grips them, but instead of a silent retreat, a bold decision is made, a run setting the stage for an epic confrontation. Aware of their significant numeral disadvantage, they acknowledge the slim chances against so many spears. Tomorrow they plan to return more prepared. A small victory on the way back home, a snatched deer, provides only a meager sustenance. The grim reality sets in. The impending confrontation looms over them. If they were to perish, the tribe back home would struggle to adapt to the loss of many of their great hunters, assuming they emerge victorious. A loss resulting in the loss of all of their great hunters would probably mark the end for their tribe. The scarcity of resources intensifies the urgency. Fortunately, they have connections with a few other tribes, occasionally meeting for exchanging of clothes, flint, and women. This is a common practice for Neanderthals and other species of humans to avoid inbreeding. Convincing them of the risks, they might send reinforcements. There is pride involved. Although their alliance is weak, they would not want to be embarrassed by outsiders. This sets the stage for a tense and strategic encounter, as the Neanderthals face not only a formidable rival tribe, but also the harsh realities of a challenging survival in a resource-scarce environment. 6 months earlier, it's winter. A group of Homo sapiens are hunting on their newly explored hunting grounds. They call their burning their airways. They've been tracking a large group of mammoths for hours and finally found them. They felt relieved and grateful. They were starting to get tired, something which would have made the hunting itself harder. However, as they start their attacks, they are ambushed by another group of Neanderthals from behind a small hill in the open grassland. The Homo sapiens are caught off guard and struggle to defend themselves against the well-prepared Neanderthals. Spears are flying. Some get hit and penetrated. Multiple hits land on their targets. The mammoths, frightened, start galloping to safety. They seem to be warning shots, a brutal indication to stay out of that area. The Neanderthals remain hidden, hiding their small numbers. They threw multiple spears to cover the fact that there are so few. Only one Neanderthal stands up and gestures for the Homo sapiens to leave. He's noticeably shorter and wider than them, with a large nose and brow ridge. A young Homo sapien boy tries to aim his bow. However, he's stopped by an older male. It's clear, the Neanderthals have the control over this situation. If they had chosen to fight back against the Neanderthals, it is unknown if they would all have perished. The Homo sapiens flee back to their tribe, leaving the bodies of their fallen comrades and relatives behind. They are collectively feeling saddened, embarrassed, and craving revenge for their losses. This is how life was at the time. Brutal, relentless, and crushing, filled with tragedy. Sadly, things were about to get a lot worse. The Homo sapiens had done well for themselves in this new land, and because of it, their numbers had increased so much that they had decided to split into two and migrate nearby, with half of the group remaining at the old location. Because of the recent attack, they decided that they were going to steal their home and take over whichever location the Neanderthals lived at. They were going to send out 3 men, so that they were safe enough from lion and bears attacks, as well as other predators, but also small enough to be difficult to notice. They snuck back to the place of the attack. However, there were no bodies to be found. They felt the rage return. It's likely the Neanderthals ate them, a common practice for all human species at the time. They located the dragging marks on the snow and followed them carefully. Their emotions kept rotating from anger to fear. After a while, they heard voices, a foreign language. They kept investigating and found a large cave in the upper part of the forest valley. In the forest, they can see women and children hunting birds with stones. Now they saw it clearly. They themselves vastly outnumbered the Neanderthals. Because of the way the valley was positioned, they would attack at night. If not, they would have likely been rained on upon by spears. Finding it hard to launch attacks from that low below the valley. 6 months later, after seeing the Homo sapiens' large population, the Neanderthals from the start of the story, the ones which discovered the cave with 100 Homo sapiens, realized they are no match for the Homo sapiens and begin to seek help from other tribes. 3 tribes in the area sometimes meet to exchange. Eventually, they gather a group of 15 men to attack the Homo sapiens and get rid of the strangers which had killed the neighboring tribe. Convincing them to attack was difficult, but they decided to split the loot they would get from the attack so that everybody got equal parts, making the effort worth it. The Neanderthals walk up to the cave from another tribe's settlement. This tribe lives in shelters made with sticks found on the ground, as well as some torn off of trees. They have covered them with hay and leather. They walk up from the settlement, which is behind the newly formed Homo sapien cave. Once they arrive, they silently kill all outside the cave with accurately thrown spears. They try to make as little noise as possible, but in case they woke up any of the sapiens, they now rush into the cave with all their might, throwing spears and rocks and punching their enemies. They are strong and powerful, landing hits on their enemies with their spears and fists. But the Homo sapiens are also skilled fighters. They grasp with their bows and spears. One Neanderthal gets jumped by 2 sapiens. However, they are shocked at his immense strength as he throws them against the cave wall, hitting their heads. The battle between the 2 species is fierce and intense, with each side fighting for survival. This time, the Neanderthals are victorious. They killed off all of the Homo sapiens and enslaved the women and children, which will help to prevent inbreeding. The loot of the cave is split between the three tribes. However, the Neanderthals, which noticed the sapiens all laying in this cave for the first time now, they noticed that the sapiens were much fewer. Maybe it just felt like it. They could have sworn there were much more when they first saw them. They've won the battle, but the conflict is far from over. This is a conflict that will last tens of thousands of years. A conflict which will have intermingling between the species, outcompeting, and war, ultimately ending in the extinction of the Neanderthals.